to meet you. Timothy Jakob Jensen, welcome to the hot seat. Could you start by giving me the 30-second elevator pitch? What is Designers Trust and why did you create it?
Designers Trust is a platform for designers and brands who want to collaborate together. We've been in the business for 100 years. We found it natural to digitalize our own industry. We think we're the first in the world who's making it within industrial design and consumer products.
Why would I use this particular platform to find a designer rather than just Google lamp designer, for example?
You would use Designers Trust for a number of reasons. The mythology that we have built, it took us 100 years to build it, the deliverables, the way we work. So everybody on the platform has to follow quite a rigid system, so we have quality assurance. So you can't just call a designer and get a lamp design. You have to sign up, the designer has to sign up, the designer has to submit their educational documents from a recognized institution, and then they have to go through a specific number of phases to ensure the quality. So it's quality, it's also our legacy. That's why you would want to use a platform instead of using a random designer from the internet. And if I can just add to that, the first platform that I'm aware about is within graphic design, corporate identity, logos, and they actually originated from Melbourne in Australia in 20 years ago. They're called 99 Design. So we're pretty much doing the same as them, just within our field of industrial design and product design.
Okay, say a brand does sign up and they pay their €5,000. Where's the bang for buck? What do they get out of it?
So there's a number of ways to work with Designers Trust. You can, as I think your question is related to, you can fill out a brief. I need a lamp design, or I need a vacuum cleaner, I need a hairdryer, or whatever it may be. So as a brand, you fill out the design brief, then a qualified designer is assigned to the brief, and then the designer makes the whole project together with the brand in a conceptual phase, where there's 3 concepts, then in a selection phase, that's phase 2, where the concept is selected, and then phase 3, which is design for manufacturing. So everything is really under control. You know, you can't have the designer get drunk or run away or whatever. Everybody's really interlinked for the process.
How do you guarantee the quality of designs?
The quality insurance on Designers Trust has a number of components. The one thing is that you have to be a designer to work on Designers Trust. So we check all the designers' educational documents. So you are a designer to be on Designers Trust. No random person can just log in and make a profile. Then the process and the methodology is something that we have developed in our family over many, many years. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, we have people who curate the submissions. So we can't just have somebody who submits something that they picked up from the internet. So it's very rigid. It's also a premium platform. It's quite expensive because you're rightly saying €5,000, but that's the lowest price plus royalty. So a lot of startup would pick maybe €5,000 to get the design, and then later when they start making money, they pay royalties to Designers Trust. Alternatively, larger brands, they pay the up fee front, where the lowest price on our platform is €35,000 for a design, and then the price of course goes up depending on the scope of work.
What happens if a brand gets their 3 design options back and they hate them? What happens then? Is it just money down the drain?
It's a good and relevant question. I never seen it happening, but you are right. So a brand fills out a brief, they get the 3 concepts. The designer is dying to accommodate and fulfill the brief, of course, and so are we. It's important that the brand get the right solution, but hypothetically at least, they don't like any of it. They lost the €5,000, and then the 3 concepts is then put on the platform where other then can buy it if they subscribe.
Say I'm a rep from a furniture brand and I had a dream last night about a snazzy new chair for summer. I filled out my design brief. I need someone to make the magic happen. What happens next?
What happens in the case that you're describing is you fill out the brief, you submit the brief, we pick it up, we see what is the brief about, and then we assign the designer that we found deemed for it, or we offer you a collection of designers. You can say, I want a designer who has won 3 design awards, I want furniture designer or a transportation designer. So together we find the right designer. We will recommend, but it's of course up to you. You can just pick and choose from the list of designers on the platform. And then this designer is obliged to make the 3 concepts within a period of time, submit them to you. You get the notification. Here are your concepts. Then hopefully you pick one of them, often a merger of them. Concept B is nice, but there's something in A and there's something in C. So that is natural that people pick from those 3 concepts, and then that goes into phase 2, where it's selected and more matured, and then in phase 3, it basically goes into design for manufacturing, where the designer and we provide everything from our side to the manufacturer, to the brand, so they can put it into serial production.
Let's talk about the designers on your books. Who are they? What are their credentials?
I can't remember. There's like 187 designers, design profiles, where I think 40 or 50 of them are active on Designers Trust. They come from 26 different countries. They have all kinds of backgrounds. Of course, when we started this up, we've been live for 3 years. It was network related, so we reached out and said, hey, you want to be a part of this? It doesn't cost anything to be a designer on the platform. And we have former chief designer from BMW, we have former chief designer from Nokia, and so forth. So some of them are students, newly graduated, some of them are senior designers, male and female, all kind of background, textile designers, furniture designers, industrial designers, product designers. So it's a pretty good mix. So I would be surprised if there's a project that we cannot take on board within our field.
How did the designers benefit from being part of Designers Trust?
That's going to be a longer answer, but I'll do it as short as I can. The designers benefit because we're taking care of all the things that designers hate to take care of. Legal, finance, deliverables, all that. And the designers, they get 50% of all the income from a design. So they get 50% of the royalties, or they get 50% of the design fee. So we're taking care of marketing, legal, finance, deliverables, curating things. And if I can just add to that, if you think of it, what happens to a graduation project? It's the most wonderful pram or hairdryer, whatever, that this young talent has worked so hard on. It ends up in a cardboard box in your mother's attic or in your father's basement, 90% of them. Why? Because the majority of the design universities, they don't teach the students or the graduates how to sell their product. And what we offer is that they can put it on our platform. So there's the a la carte, if you could call it that, the design brief section where you order a design, but there's also a buffet, if we can call it that, where there's today 250 designs on the platform, that if you as a brand you want to subscribe for lamps, then you get access to the category of lamps, and you can see all the lamp designs that's already submitted on the platform.
Timothy, you've been a prominent industrial designer for decades. You've built successful enterprises on the back of handshakes and personal face-to-face connections. How do you create the same level of trust with an online platform?
I mean, you could say, what do we have if we're not animals? Trust. That's what everything is built on. So I found that very natural, maybe also coming from Scandinavia, that the whole society is built on trust. I think we have, as a family, a large credibility within the design world because we've been around for 100 years or something like that. We have been lucky together with some of the clients to make some great successes. So it haven't really been an issue about trust. What has been an issue is the conversion from the analog world to the digital world. Not for us because we were driving it, but for clients, not for designers, because designers these days, they're digital. At least people under 40, they're digital. But for some of the brands, they're like, so that website, how do I get design from that one, right? Well, it's the same thing. You could call it a digital studio. You put your order in and you get the result here and you pay some money. We just digitalized it. So I haven't really experienced trust issue. I have experienced issue with elder clients that is a little abstract for them. How do they get design out of this website? But it's maybe because they haven't spent time enough reading about what it is. It is an Airbnb. It is an Uber. It is a design as a service platform. So trust has not really been a big issue. I haven't found.
Let's talk about the Jensen clan. Your family is like industrial design royalty. You started as an apprentice to your father, Jakob Jensen. How did he influence you as a designer?
My grandfather started the business back in 1920s or something like that, and then my father became famous for all his work, all our work for Bang & Olufsen, the Danish audio and video manufacturer. And I mean, I started as an apprentice to my father when I was 16 in 1978, and he would give me 100 crowns a day, which is 15 euro a day, if I would come into the office every morning at 8 and leave at 4 and have half an hour break. And I would start building models. He would sketch up, and then I would start building the models, and then I got more and more involved in the in the design process and took over eventually from him. What did he teach me? He taught me about ideas, about proportions, and refining and refining. You don't make a design, here it is. You keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it for 10 or 20 or 100 times before it's perfect, right? So that's all of the things he taught me.
And now as a fourth generation, tell me what it's like working with your daughter, Freya.
I mean, I guess that all family businesses would like the next generation to take over after them. And working actually with both my daughters, Toko, the older, and Freya, the youngest, you know, it's just wonderful that they're brought up with a very creative mother and with a studio in our home or in our property. So they grew up with it, and they saw all the design process, all the crazy designs, all that. So it's just great to work with your children. And I was so fortunate, or we were so fortunate, that this line of watches here, Freya, my youngest daughter, she designed it, and it ended up with President Obama and his wife and their daughters, because the local mayor in Skive, our local town, he gave them to Obama when Obama came. So, you know, how lucky can one be? So that is absolutely wonderful. And it's also very educational to work with new generation, where it's much more diverse, it's much more different than when I worked or when I started working. You never talk about gender, you never talk about politics, you never talk about these things. I mean, that has all changed. And of course, sustainability is a very, very big thing on the agenda these days. And nobody thought about sustainability when I was, well, they did, the hippies did, but I mean, establishment were not talking about sustainability in the 70s and the 80s. So yeah, it's a gift to work with the next generation.
And before we wrap up, any final words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom, I don't know about that, but I do recall I picked up my dad in the airport in Aarhus a long time ago. And we're driving there, I'm driving, he's sitting next to me. I said, Dad, don't you have a line? Like one line I can carry on through my life? You know, you're a young person and you're like, what is it all about? And he said yes. He was thinking for a while, was not his style, but he said yes. Never take anything 100% seriously. And if I can also call my mother, she's still alive, where my older brother Thomas, he's a philosopher, a real philosopher, not like the rest of us, where he said, Mother, what do you think about life at large? And she replied, it's utterly ridiculous.
Timothy, thanks for the interview.
Pleasure. Nice meeting you.
All the best with Designers Trust.
Thank you.